All right, so I'm going to talk about Donald Trump and I'm going to talk about sovereignty. Okay, this entire election cycle is about sovereignty. We are fighting the globalists that want to take this country away because this country stands for the idea that human beings have inalienable rights given to them by their creator. Now, the globalists know that America stands in the way of the things that they want to do, which is namely cull the population, corral us into cities, and control us for the rest of our lives so that they can die one day feeling as though they did a good thing for humanity. These people, these globalists, are in a group hallucination. They feel a lack of love, and that means they feel a lack of significance. And that means that they are addicted to controlling people as a means of coping with their lack of love. All of them, the globalists, they're very delusional. And I understand why. And you should understand why too. They just don't feel significant enough. And they're disrespectful enough to alter the course of life for billions of people. Now, if you think about that level of disrespect, that you know better than 6 billion people, where does that level of disrespect come from? That level of disrespect only comes from one place. That comes from Satan. Okay, so but the problem is all the satanic forces have congealed into these globalists who are truly trying to save themselves from insignificance by saving the rest of us. And to do that, they have to pretend that we're that needy. Yeah, it's that crazy. And that is why they know that, they have to deceive us all and blah, blah, blah. So look, here's the deal I want to tell you, conservatives and Christians. Do you really think that just because the media refuses to talk about Hillary Clinton's wrong, that Donald Trump's talking about women's body parts from 11 years ago is truly more egregious than Hillary having a server that was illegal, her breaking the rules, knowingly breaking the rules, her lying about how she managed her emails, getting caught, and then getting pardoned after her husband was talking to, the top cop in the country on her airplane? Do you really think that just because the media isn't talking about it, that Hillary Clinton's crimes and behaviors are less egregious than Donald Trump's? Now, you already know the answer, and I'm not going to beat you over the head. But the real question is, why are you going along with this? Why are you are either going to act like you have a choice, or you're going to act like, oh, well, since I don't own the media, I really can't do anything. Okay, you are a slave. If you act like that, you are a slave. If you can't tell yourself in your own inner mind which track record is more egregious, Trump's or Clinton's, you're a slave. You're afraid. You're afraid to be outside of this fake trumped up popular opinion thing. Okay? It's not popular opinion. Okay? They are going to enslave the majority of Americans with the appearance that the majority has voted for Hillary. And any person who votes for Hillary is a non-thinking, non-studying person. But that's beside the point. I'm really talking to you, the conservative. So here's how you think about Trump. You remember how the southern states wanted slavery and they weren't going to help out with the revolution. Well, we had to choose sovereignty before we chose that level of morality that would get rid of, that would abolish slavery. Because without sovereignty, you can't maintain purity. Without sovereignty, the environment itself that is owned by wicked people will eventually come in and poison you and your children. Okay? But with sovereignty, you can clean up the environment. Okay. So if you don't understand that, then really, you pray and meditate on it. Really pray and don't react to me. Pray and meditate on that. Now, Jesus, his 3 temptations. After meeting John the Baptist, he went out and prayed 40 days, prayed and fasted 40 days, and Satan came to him at the end of the 40 days and tempted him, saying, if you're the Son of God, this is a question of sovereignty. If you're the Son of God, now sons of God have rulership over the universe. So he said, if you're the Son of God, in other words, if you're qualified to rule over me, turn this stone to bread. He said, if you're the Son of God, turn this stone to bread. That entire exchange was over sovereignty. It was not about the bread. And see, it's like a magician with a magic trick. You guys falling for like, oh, Trump said this and Trump said that. Every time Trump talks, it's not what he says. He's exerting sovereignty. Okay? Half of the so-called conservatives and half of the so-called Christians they don't see this. They don't see in this hue. They don't evaluate according to sovereignty. Let me tell you something. Satan never shuts up. He accuses people all the time. You're the one who has to tell Satan that you've been redeemed by Christ. And some Christians say, I plead the blood of Christ. And they have fought Satan, and they know that it is the blood of Christ that has delivered them from Satan. They know that the blood of the Son, right, the sovereign Son, is more precious than the opinion of any angel, a fallen angel or an angel in good standing, right? The son, his opinion has more value. So when you plead the blood of Jesus, right? Okay, you have power over these angels, right? Everything begins with sovereignty. Without sovereignty, you can't tell evil to leave, right? So if you want to tell slavery to leave your country, but you don't have a country, you're not getting rid of slavery. So, the crime that some people say is that we allowed slavery to exist, right? No, we negotiated and said, let's all gang up against the Brits, gain sovereignty, and 7 years later, what do? We abolish slavery, right? So right here, these globalists have taken our media. That's obvious. These globalists have taken half of the conservatives. They have scared half of you because you're afraid to be viewed as an immoral person. They go, are you going to support what Donald Trump said? Right? And you don't know what to do except bail on Donald Trump. See, you're just a scared bitch. I'm sorry to tell you. You're a scared bitch because you don't have any sovereignty. And let me say, this is a gift. This is what a sovereign person does. Are you going to back away from what Trump said? This is what you do. You say, I don't have to back away or endorse what Trump said. What Trump said is really irrelevant when you compare the fact that the other half of the country is trying to put a criminal in the White House. That's sovereignty, okay? You do not have to accept the burden to prove that you're moral or immoral from that immoral media. Do you see what I'm saying? Why would you let a media that is immoral put you under the gun to prove how moral or immoral you are? That's letting them set the tone, them occupy the slave master role, okay? Because they set the tone. And they decide when you should issue proof of your standard of morality or immorality. Okay, they got you jumping through hoops. And why did they have you jumping through hoops? Because you have no sovereignty. You're going to give away your whole country. You already gave away. And I'm talking about the weak half of the conservative movement and weak Christians. You gave away the whole gay marriage issue. You gave it away because when somebody said, oh, you're a bigot, you went the other way to prove it to them, to get them to like you. You understand? So in order to maintain sovereignty, you have to be okay with not being liked. And some of you refuse to suffer that. So the greatest country, it's a shame that you inherited this country because some people pay the ultimate price for this country and you can't even suffer being an unpopular figure in and among your friends or on the national stage. Okay? And this is why you're giving away our country. Of course, Trump shouldn't have said that. And he apologized. But has Clinton apologized really for the stuff that she's done? No. You get an apology and you're still stacked against Trump because they'll never give you permission to be viewed as a moral person if you are with Trump. So you've got to take inventory of your own morality and be sincere based on that because they're going to feign ignorance of your high standard. So the real trick is to stop seeking permission from them, which is an issue of sovereignty. Okay? And what does Trump stand for? Sovereignty. If we get our borders clear, if we get how we induct immigrants clear, if we get our role in the world clear, right? And we gain sovereignty, then we can sort out other issues without having to bend our morals as a country. But if we don't have sovereignty, we cannot even exert our moral will for ourselves or for the world. We're losing it all. So the last thing I'm going to say, this issue of sovereignty or slavery is the original issue between Adam, who was sovereign, written into the principle of the universe to be the Lord, to judge the angels, and Lucifer, who coveted that and felt lack of love and lack of validation and hatred for the one who had what he wished he had, right? So you're dealing with people who want to cull the population, corral us into cities so that they can control us. They get that desire from Lucifer. They have the emptiness to want to become somebody great, and they get that feeling from Lucifer. And the only thing to combat them is a sovereign Lord. Now, if you're a Christian, Jesus said, my Father loves me because I lay down my life for the brethren, but I can pick it back up when I want to. In other words, I can not live for my sake. Lay down my life. That means not live for my sake. Live for your sake, which some people would say is an act of love for you, right? I can lay down my life. My Father loves me because I lay down my life for the brethren. That means I don't do what I want to do, but I do what's good for the brethren. And that's why my Father loves me. But my Father said I can take up my life whenever I want. In other words, my Father is reminding me that I'm not compelled to love. I'm not forced to love. I can pick up my life when I want to. Okay? So that means that Jesus is sovereign. Okay? So when you understand that, you've been redeemed to right standing, adopted son of God, you don't have to answer to a devil and prove to a devil that you're good. Now, don't you know that Donald Trump is, well, they say the lesser of two evils. But when you think about sovereignty, think about somebody who's not going to kowtow to some bitching person, prove that you're good. He doesn't care about that, right? So who's the lesser evil? Somebody who's always going to kowtow to the globalists they're not even American. Somebody who's going to sell out America to prove that we're loving to others, to prove that we're not high and mighty and arrogant. Oh, you can come and destroy us. See, we're nice. Somebody who's got that attitude, or somebody says, no, America is worth saving. It's worth being distinct. It's worth excluding people who don't agree with it. And so who's the lesser of two evils? The guy that hurts people's feelings because, he's willing to exclude people for real reasons? Or the woman who's willing to prove anything just so that people stop complaining, and they won't stop complaining because they realize that the more they complain, the more free stuff they get? Who's the lesser of two evils? Trump is about sovereignty. And I think a lot of people they're not thinking in that spectrum of where is there more sovereignty, more self-determination, okay? They don't understand the whole political correctness issue is really about sovereignty over your own mouth. Okay. And once they taken away sovereignty over your mouth, where you can't say what you want to say, good or bad, okay, then they'll start taking sovereignty over behaviors that they think is good or bad. Like click it or ticket. They've taken your right to drive in your car without a seatbelt, right? Because they act like they care more about your body than you do, right? You don't have sovereignty. You're losing sovereignty. Okay. And just like other civilizations that just before it crashed, people don't think my civilization is about to crash. But this has gotten crazy. Nobody can hear about Hillary Clinton's crimes because the media is bought and paid for. I hope this video goes out and gets to a lot of people because you need to go out and vote for Donald Trump. Not because he's a sweetheart. It's because he insists on being the owner of his mouth. He insists on being the owner of his life. And if you're not on board with that, if you will give up your life to quiet some people who are complaining that, right? If you're willing to give up your life just because they're complaining, then people will continue to complain and continue to take people's lives like yours. And they will eventually take this entire country like the goose that kept laying the golden egg. And they'll cut this country wide open looking for more golden eggs until there are none. And you better understand the depths of human nature and how far back this goes. Adam had sovereignty and he gave it up. He gave it up because two figures, Lucifer and Eve, came to him and put the burden of proof on him. But Christ would not accept the burden of proof. He did not turn to the stone to bread. He did not jump from the temple, and he did not bow. He didn't do these three things in the three temptations because he was sovereign already. And if you're sovereign and you know that Trump is the lesser of two evils, ignore your friends and do what's necessary for this country. This shit matters. You are going to be punished by people who truly love this country. You are going to be punished by people who truly hate this country. You who are on the borderline have to sort this out. Because if you sell out your own conscience, you will be a hated person, even in your own daggone mind. You will hate how disgustingly weak you are, that you need people's love and approval. Random people. You're almost like a whore. You'd be like a whore giving away your vote to people who are actually not giving you anything but threats. Thumb your nose in their face. Do the right thing for this country. Let's get back some sovereignty. And then we can sort out some of these other issues of immorality and how women should be talked about and all this kind of stuff. The same way we sorted out slavery later. But this is about sovereignty right now. They gave away the internet. They're giving away. Hillary gave away, she sold 20% of our uranium to Russia, and then she wants to go railing against Russia. But you're not able to hear that narrative like that, right? Okay, I said enough. All right. vote Trump.